And the idea for today is to have to this recap in these webinars in the second open call about ARISE. I am the coordinator, the overall coordinator of this project, and is this introduction of the project. What makes ARISE unique is its commitment with the open source technologies and the integration of the artificial intelligence power robotics and human-centric design. We focus in three objectives mainly. And the first objective is to engage human performance in complex and demanding industrial tasks in the factories, in the different industrial SMEs. In the second objective is the introduction of the ethical principles in this robotic environment, and promoting inclusiveness and safety in these industrial workplaces. And finally, the other is the impact assessment, the human-centric design, and not only in agile and cost-effective in this application, but also sustainable for a modern industrial environment. All of these in this context in the Industry 5.0, where the human and machines and the other devices and collaborate together in this environment. This is the main objective of the project. Next slide, Marta. Okay, the middleware. I commented that the most important is this ARISE middleware, the open source solution that include in this middleware. The idea is to have collaborate with this standard fireware, ROS2, Vulkan with FastADS, ROS4 HRI, and different AI skills, robotic skills, and to integrate in reusable robotic application. The idea is to incorporate this open source solution, but in this context in robotics, but to facilitate the production of the new application. In a seamless and standard way, our approach is based in the adoption and the early adopter of this context, this middleware, and to consider to improve the interoperability and the adaptability. Next slide, Marta, thank you. Okay, the three elements addressing in this middleware is the first is the reusability of the application, and creating the different standardized frameworks, ensuring that this application can be reusable in other environments across the multiple industries, reducing costs and accelerate deployment in, for instance, manufacturing, logistics, and healthcare. This is our environment in ARISE, in our dev. Connecting system and robots with this middleware. The idea is provide this environment that enable real-time communication between application and different devices that you can see in the picture, different elements in the factories and these industrial scenarios, and to collaborate with this application. The communication will easier and in a simple way. Another important point is the integration with open platform, for instance, with fireware. In many industries already have this existing infrastructure, and the idea is to ensure the compatibility with this system. And for this reason, it's to use the open source technologies and enabling different AI-driven analytics and new capabilities in these scenarios. Next slide. Our core in ARISE is our test. our testing and experimentation facilities. We have 4 pilots in different in our different partners. The idea is to have a demo, a labs, and to have they are the early adopters of this middleware and different releases for the last 2 years. Is the implementation. We are the first adopter of this middleware, but you have this experience to translate to the beneficiaries of the OpenCall in your case. Is our central point, but is relation in all of the context in ARISE. Mainly the testing and experimentation pilots, and the other is the sort of the different requirements and the feedback of this implementation. The important part is the first adopter of the SSH framework, this ethics and social science and humanity framework that we are elaborating in our project about the robotic application, and that to incorporate the ethic and this safety environment and to incorporate different futures. The idea is our expert, the Demos Helsinki, we have a different interviews and different visiting the different demos to capture this knowledge, but to build this SSH framework in this context in robotics. And the other relation is the FSTP experiment, the relation with the from these testing and experimentation facilities. They are the aspiring samples for the challenges in this OpenCall, but the applicants and the management. The funding boss is our partner is in the management of the OpenCall. In our other important part is the mentoring and support in our partner IntelliMed is the print in the testing and experimentation. This the mentors. This mentor in our testing we have the mentors. This engages with this mentor the experience of the OpenCall experiment. We have this link in this part with this mentoring. The ARISE middleware provides impact in industry sector, including in our case manufacturing, logistics, and healthcare, and we consider in other industrial scenarios. Next slide. We are we can see the challenges that are addressing in different in our different pilots in our testing and experimentation facilities. In Cartier is the leader of this TEF one, and we have 2 challenges: dismantling and assembly high-value products and complex product picking industrial warehouses. In the case that IntelliMed, we have 2 challenges: flexible collaborating robots, assembly and packing, and smart programming a robot kitting assistant with to facilitate the operator of this kitting development. And PAL is TEF3 is a little different in the is other scenario, is a healthcare scenario, and you have engaged robot functionality and special expert in this multimodal human robot interaction in this sector. And other challenge is FET and Caritas in the healthcare environment, in different hospital and different health scenarios. And we have other TEF, Politecnico de Milano. We have they are working on different efficiency and inefficiency and ergonomic in different high precision tasks. Is the 2 challenges in this TEF. We have this 8 challenge in our 4 TEF. We are we are trying to that you are a sample to inspire, and in other webinars it's possible um, to give that more example in this case later. More specific about one challenge. This is the introduction. I think is to have very clear the objectives and the scenario of the ARISE project and the importance of this part of the middleware. Thank you. We continue to Francisco is our technical coordinator in ARISE.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mireia. Well, I will go briefly through the technical aspects in your preparation of the proposal. I guess this slide is. Can you please jump to the next one? Yes, this one. Okay. I will briefly go through the technical requirements, but already aligned with the sections of the proposal, and also commenting on some of the questions you are often making through the Discord channel and from the experience in the first open call. So regarding the excellence, if we focus on the technical perspective and how your proposal will be assessed, we have two dimensions. One is the use case. In here, the main actor is the industrial end user, and the needs of this industrial case must be at the core of everything. It must be aligned with Industry 5.0 principles. So humans are at the very center of the scene, and sustainability in the process are also a relevant aspect. Then you must be focused on one single challenge of the list of ARISE challenges. It might happen that your case matches the requirement of multiple cases, of multiple challenges, but you shall pick the one that aligns the most with the case you are presenting. And then the core part to, let's say, to formulate an exhaustive and attractive use case is that you manage to present in the excellence section very an interesting overview of what could be the KPIs for the enhancements you are targeting for the business, for the safety, and or the well-being of the humans. So in here you have the moment to catch the attention of the reviewers and to make them understand why your concept is so relevant. And then the counterpart of the requirements presented by the industrial end user is the approach of the technical team to develop a solution. And in here, this may seem obvious, but the experience in the first open call tells us that we cannot stress this enough to ensure that all the applicants understand it. There must be a robotics system in your proposal and in the eventual execution of the project. So we are not targeting just perception systems, intelligent system for decision making or whatever. We want the physical automation to exist there. And the collaborative automation system must have a physical dimension acting in the experiment. This is a must. And your project will be considered out of scope if there is no clear and explicit mention and explanation on what are the physical capabilities enabled by the robotic system. Then it is important to highlight also what is the contribution to beyond the state of the art in collaborative robots at working spaces, and then some contributions to the ARISE technical approach, because ARISE, as you may know, is a project funded by the European Commission. We need to contribute in some concrete aspects. I will elaborate a bit further on this later. And well, in this very initial section of the excellence part, where the full picture of the eventual experiment is presented, we also need to see some commitment to align with the requirements of ARISE, with the specifics, let's say. And then final part is that we are also expecting that the tech provider is not just focused on this problem of technology push, but understanding this mindset we do have with Industry 5.0, with focus on the safety of the human, on the inclusiveness of the solution and the industrial process for every single profile of an eventual worker, and for the well-being of workers that are engaged there in the process. So with this, you can feel confident that you are creating a good, excellent section. We can go to the next slide with the impact. Yes. Well, the impact, I have tried to make it the most concise, the minimum messages that we need to deliver for you to create an interesting impact section. And to me, it's these two parts. On the one hand, is the industrial added value. So how the use case that is being presented from the industrial end user, and this combination with the tech providers creating a solution can achieve broader impact than the mere execution of the experiment. So in here, we need to capture this thing. So we are doing an experiment because we have a meaningful use case, we have a meaningful approach to create a solution, and in this section, we are not telling you how we are going to implement or how we are going just to address the KPIs of the excellence part, but how we are impactful to the innovation landscape, because our work will impact beyond the boundaries of the experiment. So this is one part that we will pay attention to in the impact evaluation. And then the second part is more related to the sustainability of the action that ARISE is going to fund. So why, how will the end user keep the solution beyond the funded action? It is the space to bring this as added value to the proposal. Why, how will the tech provider sell and deploy the solution in new scenarios? In here, adaptability of the solution and market reach is some part to be covered. And then the third part, which goes beyond the boundaries of the experiment, is why, how will others benefit from the experiment? It is because, let's say, after the developments, it will be cheaper to deploy it. It is because the experience will help others to adopt and exploit easier the solutions. So let's elaborate on focusing on the industrial end user and the eventual strategy, the tech provider and eventual strategy, and then the vision and projection to scale with and replicate the success story outside the consortium. We can jump now to the implementation part. In here, most of the questions we are receiving, I think we can answer them in connection to these bullets I am adding here. For instance, regarding the team that you will prepare for the experiment, there are two mandatory roles. The end user, because it's bringing the actual scenario, motivating the execution of the experiment, and the tech provider, which is bringing the technology to solve it. There is a possibility for a second tech provider. And in here is where I want to clarify exactly why we are considering these two tech providers. Let's say regular story for the tech providers. I am a provider of automation for industrial spaces, but I am not an expert in a particular technology for vision, for the control of one particular robot arm, or for the fine-tuning of a navigation module for a robot. And then what I do is to rely on a second tech provider to bring this exact capabilities into my solution, because I am a very capable integrator. I even am able to develop robotics, but this particular thing, I need someone to combine efforts and make it perfect. Second thing, there is some part of R&D work that I need to do, but I do not have it in-house, and I need an R&D partner, an RTO, a university that is going to accelerate me in achieving what I want. This is an opportunity. I need someone that is bringing a living lab to create my solution before deploying it to the actual industrial end user, and to share somehow the developments. This is also a possibility. And it is not, let's say, the first case that is in our minds when we think of this second tech provider, but it might be also, this case might be also admissible. I am a provider of a very, very competitive robotics technology, for instance, a navigation stack, but I am not so expert in IoT integration or deployment in the industry. So I can be the tech provider one, because I am bringing the navigation technology there, and then I am relying on a second tech provider to deploy the navigation, to fine-tune the robot behavior in the warehouse that the robot is going to operate. So we are trying to be very, very flexible in here, but there must be a tech provider number one, which is clearly bringing a solution and aiming to grow the business for the company he or she is representing. And the second one is an auxiliary tech provider that is bringing some differentiation aspect to the consortium. This is the overall idea. Another thing regarding the team, the overall deliverables, it is very often that you ask for the assessment of an idea, whether your idea is aligning or not with the program, because the industrial sector is not exactly what we are listing in our documents, or because the duties are not exactly matching the examples we are bringing in the guide for applicants. So we are trying to apply common sense again in here. You must read the challenges, and if your use case from the industrial end user and the technology you are going to develop is contributed to the challenge, uh, I we can be really, really flexible in accepting other industrial sectors as long as the requirements are very well aligned. So, for instance, typical question is agri-food technology sector something that we can present as an idea? Okay, if your process is very well aligned with these typical manufacturing settings, and in agri-food technology, that is the case very often for a number of processes, and the case for the assembly or sorting or whatever problem you're addressing is very well aligned with the challenge. Just motivate it, write it down why you consider that this alignment exists and why your proposal is perfectly fitting and addressing the challenge, and that will be okay. So it is not the main reason for dropping a proposal that you are operating in a different sector. It is more that you align with the overall goal and the requirements that we are listing in the challenges. Then, regarding the deliverables, what is what you're going to deliver? First of all, if your proposal gets accepted and funded, you will elaborate further your proposal to really develop an execution plan for the experiment. This is the first thing you will do. Then, but in the first 2 or 3 months of the experiment, you will deliver a proof of concept that is already executable and that allows us, as the ARISE management, to understand exactly how you are planning to achieve the ambition of your proposal. Because in the end, you will deliver a demonstrator of the full concept with a maturity of TRL 6, 7. We are targeting 7. 6 is admissible in the worst case scenario. But have in mind that we are targeting TRL 7 in the final demonstrator. And then there is this thing of open reusable module. And this is often related to a number of questions. What does it mean to have an open reusable model? Well, the point I want to make in here, and this is already connecting with the technical requirements for implementation, in the solution you can use any technology of your choice. And you can go with whatever approach you feel comfortable with. But because of our commitment with the Commission, we need to deliver, as the ARISE project, some contributions to the open innovation landscape. And in here is where the trade-off for you exists in the eventual execution of the project. You can use whatever you want to do to use for the technology. You can architect the solution as you wish, but somehow in the modular solution that you propose, you need to define a perimeter in which you 100% embrace the requirements of ARISE. And what we are communicating as the compulsory requirements? First is to align your design with the ARISE reference framework. I will give you details on the next slide. And then for some of the modules, you will use the ARISE technology. The core technology for the middleware at the robotics level is the Vulcanexus distribution of ROS2. So somehow one of your robotics modules must be implemented using ROS2. And then you should use ROS2 to expose interfaces of your solution as much as possible. So something meaningful. This is the proof of concept we want to make, and one particular model must be implemented using that technology. From this exercise you will do, an open source implementation will emerge. And this more or less will be the deliverable for the open reusable module. Second part of the requirements regarding the technology is that once you have your ROS2 middleware running, Fiware technology for the IoT side and smart analytics is just off-the-shelf deployment, because our technology in Fiware, in particular the context broker technology, is ready to operate on ROS2. So a case for Fiware-based smart analytics is something that we will target in the demonstrator. This is considered part of the excellent proposal, those which already address this combination of the ARISE technologies. So explore it and just present a meaningful case for it. But as I said, any technology of your choice is admissible. We want that you just capture in one particular module this essence of the ARISE program and your commitment to align with it. And with this, I think we can go to the last of the slides I am going to present. This is a bit of a deep dive on the technical dimension. I wanted to keep this very high level for the first webinar. In the second webinar, we will deep dive more into the tech contents, but I wanted to uh, share with you this thing. So when we refer to the ARISE reference framework, we are embracing the European reference framework for developing digital platforms in robotics. And these 4 points are the core aspects to consider. So we have a challenge in this particular case, your industrial end user use case, and this is defining the problem space. Okay, and this shall be recognizable by others, not only by your industrial end user. This shall be as relevant as for a number of people in the market. Is very easy to identify what the challenge is. And then we have the concept of mission. This is the purpose of the robotics solution. So when we consider our robotics mission, is that when we switch our robotics system on, the robotic system is only implementing that mission, and it is meant to execute it forever, let's say. The mission can have some configuration parameters, but it is always the same, continuous and almost infinite in there. This is the difference with what we consider a task. A task is finite. It has a clear and concise set of steps to fulfill an objective inside the mission. So this is the way that we want you in the proposal to more or less structure what you are proposing to execute. So the robotics system will have a mission to solve the problem stated in the challenge, and then the mission is broken down into multiple tasks or objectives for the robotic system to execute. Skills. What are the skills? Skills are units of intelligent behavior implemented in our software packages to allow the robot to execute one or a set of tasks. So these are the skills, and modules in your solution must implement skills. And in here, this is relevant because the open reusable module shall match one particular skill, at least one. We can have packages for multi-skills, that is admissible, but with this is with what we are kind of closing the loop between the implementation and the design. And our software packages shall implement skills, and one particular open package will be the open reusable module. And you shall define in your mission the tasks that the robot needs to execute and the skills that you will be implementing to solve the tasks. So this is the summary of our reference framework, and in the second webinar, we will enter a bit more into the technology and implementation details. I think I can leave it here.
Thank you very much, Francisco. And now, Claire.
Okay, here we are. Okay, thank you, Francisco and Maria, for the introduction. Now I'll be talking about the practical side of things in terms of how to apply, although Francisco touched upon those as well earlier. So this is basically an overview for those of you who don't know. We'll be selecting up to 13 beneficiaries in this open call, and they'll be participating in a 12-month long support and mentoring. Okay, and the projects will be receiving a maximum of 200,000 euros. Francisco already talked about this earlier. The activities that can be funded through this open call have to be related, have to be falling within the scope of the RISE project, and need to tackle just one of the 8 challenges that Francisco mentioned earlier. In terms of who we're looking for, we are looking for either single applicants. So it could be one single SME playing the role of both the technology provider and the end user. So a technology provider developing the solution, but also providing the use case scenario. or a consortium, which means more than one team member in the project. And as Francisco mentioned earlier, you could be a technology provider and an end user, or you could even add an additional technology provider. So this means you could be maximum 3 applicants in a project. But there is a disclaimer related to this, and I will talk about this in a minute with respect to the 3-party consortium. So you can either be single, you can be 2-party, or you can be 3-party consortium. It's important that the technology provider is an SME. So one technology provider needs to be an SME. So this is one of the eligibility criteria. We are closing the open call on the 4th of February, so there's still some time left. And in a minute, I'm going to touch upon some of the key documents that you need to review in order to enhance your success in applying for the open call. I won't go into details here because we've already talked about the list of challenges, but I want to highlight one thing. So as you've seen, we have 8 challenges, but we'd like to highlight 2 challenges out of these 8. We've seen from the first open call that there was not as much, say, interest in challenge 6 and challenge 8. So we would like to prioritize these 2 challenges. And this is something that the reviewers from the European Commission have highlighted, that they would like to see a balanced application across these 8 challenges. So in fact, Francisco mentioned that we'll be having a second webinar, we'll be diving deeper into some of the technical aspects of the ARISE project, but also specifically on these 2 challenges, number 6 and number 8. So what will happen is, when we are reviewing your applications, there is a very extensive evaluation process, which I will talk about in one of the other slides. But there will be a point where there will be a final list of selected applicants, okay, based on your the highest ranking projects, the highest ranking scores. And those that have the highest ranking scores will be invited to a jury day, where these projects will need to present their applications. And during this jury day, we'll be evaluating your projects and making a final selection. Okay, so that final selection will be the ones who will be receiving the 200K participating in the mentoring program. And what we will do is we will need to assess whether there is good coverage of these topics. So it could be that despite you having a very high score and having a very good alignment with the ARISE project, we will need to give priority to these 2 topics, number 6 and number 8. So this is, again, very much to do with the alignment and scope of the ARISE project, especially after receiving feedback from the European Commission. So I just want you to keep this in mind. But we will talk about the evaluation process in more detail in a bit. If anyone wants to mention anything, Francisco, Maria, please feel free to add any comments if you need to. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is quickly give an overview of the main documents that you need to refer to, but also the application form, for those of you who maybe have some questions regarding the application form. So when you arrive at the landing page, you will see some basic information about the open call, which I've touched upon already. So how much you will receive, the support that you'll be receiving, and what type of applicants we are allowing to participate. And you'll also see that there's a list of documents that you should refer to. The first is the guide for applicants, and I'll talk about that in a bit. Then there's the technical guidelines, the sub-grant agreement template, and the privacy note. So the guide for applicants is the guide where you will find all the information you need in order to understand if your application is eligible or not. Okay, so there's all the details there. And I highly recommend that you really scan it and study it in detail, because you need to address all of the elements in this guide when filling out your application form. The technical guidelines is a technical description of the challenges, so that's really, really critical as well, because you need to understand whether or not what you're proposing aligns with the scope of the ARISE project. The sub-grant agreement template is the contract that you will be signing if you are selected. And what we have seen in the past is that some applicants would not have consulted the sub-grant agreement template, and then they come to us after selection saying, oh, we're not very, we don't agree with the contract details, we'd like to make amendments. And unfortunately, we cannot make amendments for every single applicant that is selected. So we give you the opportunity to review the sub-grant agreement template in advance to understand whether or not you are okay with the terms and conditions of your participation in this project. And the privacy notes are just an information clause. Another thing I want to mention is that we do say in the guide for applicants that multiple submissions are allowed, but we will only be selecting the one with the highest score, okay? So despite you applying several times, firstly, you need to apply to different challenges, so you cannot apply multiple times for the same challenge. And we will only be selecting the one with the highest score if we notice that you are the same team members across the multiple applications, okay? So do study that note in the guide for applicants in case you are thinking of applying multiple times. With respect to the guide for applicants, as I mentioned, all the information related to the second open call is there, including the eligibility criteria, which is the first check we will make when we receive your applications after the call deadline. We will check that you have ticked all the boxes with respect to the eligibility criteria, and they are all listed in the guide for applicants. You will also see in the guide for applicants that there is a description of every single evaluation step. As you've seen in this open call, we have quite a number of steps, including a jury day, which is where you'll be presenting your project if you have been selected. And then, of course, you will be signing the contract with the consortium if everything goes well after the formal check, which is where we check whether or not you are who you say you are, and make sure your financial records are in place. And there's also information on the support program so that you can understand when the payments will be made, and what sort of milestone reviews are expected, etc. Of course, we also have ways for you to contact us if you have any complaints, and so on. And also do take a look at the annexes, because we have also included there a list of validated end users and technology providers. Okay, now I'm not going to spend too much time on this because Francisco gave a good overview of the main sections, excellence, impact, and implementation, but I will take you through very briefly every step of the application form. So for those who haven't yet started the application form, we request that you provide us some basic information, such as the project title, the acronym, the description of your project, the challenge that you're selecting, so just one out of 8 challenges, and the main contact person. And we also ask if you're financially or personally linked with any of the RISE consortium members, because we need to understand if there is any conflict of interest. If there's conflict of interest, it doesn't mean that you are automatically disqualified from the open call, but you notifying us means we can take steps to ensure that we avoid, for instance, a consortium member who's linked to you from reviewing your application. So there are mechanisms in place to prevent any conflict of interest. So it's really important that you do let us know in advance, okay? With respect to legal information, this is to do with who is applying, okay? So if you're a single applicant, if you're a consortium of 2 partners, 3 partners, etc. And now this is what I would like to highlight, because I've seen that some of you have questions on the feasibility of applying as a 3-party consortium. We do have a disclaimer in the guide for applicants that says that we are awaiting confirmation from the European Commission to see if having a 3-party consortium is in fact eligible. Now, we have included that clause because we were hoping that by the deadline of the open call, we would know for certain if a 3-party consortium is eligible. Unfortunately, up until now, we are still waiting to hear whether this is a possibility. So there is still a risk if you decide to participate as a consortium of 3 partners, because we still do not know yet whether or not this is in fact going to be accepted by the European Commission. We have given you the option just in case we hear back in time before the call deadline. But up until now, we still do not know whether or not a three-party consortium is eligible. So this is a risk we'll be taking. As soon as we know, we will be able to announce it, of course. Okay, so excellence, impact, and implementation were already covered by Francisco, so I won't go into detail. Excellence is about the objectives and ambition, the soundness of approach and credibility, and the focus on human centricity. We also allow you the option to upload a PDF presentation to support the excellence section. Okay, so this is an additional document that you can add on top of the descriptions you'll be including in the form. Same goes for impact. You can also upload a PDF presentation here. The focus is on industrial added value, commercial strategy and scalability, and environmental and social impacts. Lastly, implementation is focused on the team, where you'll be presenting your work plan, the Gantt. So we'll ask you to upload a file that presents the Gantt description for your project. You'll also need to describe your team members and the resources. And by resources, we mean budget. You may have noticed that there are 2 points where you need to upload or describe the budget. So in the implementation section, you have the resources subsection where you are asked to upload a budget file. We have not provided you a template, but if you would like a template, you can write in Discord or via email, and we can provide you an example of a budget file for you to upload. But you can also look at the budget section, which I'll talk about in a second in the next slide, where you are asked to break down the costs. So in essence, the budget file that you'll be uploading should mirror or match the budget section, the budget breakdown in the budget section. Another thing to consider is that, as I mentioned, the maximum funding limit per project is 200,000 euros, but there is a maximum funding per beneficiary where you can only receive, each beneficiary can only receive up to 100,000. Okay, so if you're a single applicant, it's maximum 200K. If you're two, you may split it 100-100, or of course, you need to understand based on the expected activities how much each partner will get, and the same applies to 3 participants. But the maximum is 100,000 per applicant. Like I mentioned, in the budget section, you will see a form that breaks down the budget criteria. So for instance, personnel costs, subcontracting costs, other direct costs, which could include travel costs. So this specific form in the application form allows you to break down the budget per section. And finally, we reach here we have the breakdown of the budget estimation, as I mentioned, personnel, mobility, so related to travel, and other activities such as purchasing of equipment and subcontracting maximum 15%. So it should never be more than 15%. And then you can also calculate 25% for overheads over all these costs apart from subcontracting. So the 25% cannot be calculated on the subcontracting cost, but can be calculated on the other costs, mobility and personnel. You'll see a statistical section where we'll be asking you how you heard about the ride, if you're bringing any IPR into the project, and also the balance, the gender balance, okay? Because this is also relevant to the review. And finally, we'll also be asking you about ethical issues, which is something that we will be reviewing during the evaluation section, the evaluation process. We'll be asking if you have any ethical impacts that you want to raise, whether you are compliant with the EU AI Act, and whether you are also GDPR compliant. Okay, so that's the application form. Now here we have a snapshot of the evaluation process, which I briefly mentioned. You will need to submit your deadline. You need to submit your application by the deadline, which is the 4th of February at 5 p.m. There will be a first check, which is where we will check if you have qualified as an eligible applicant. Okay, so the criteria that are mentioned in the guide for applicants, we need to make sure that you have passed the eligibility criteria. And then there will be another further check, which is called the in-out scope screening. And here we will bring in the selection committee of the ARISE project, and they will review the applications and they will consider two elements: whether you are in scope of the ARISE project. Okay, and this is what Francisco and Maria were touching upon earlier. Do you align with the scope of the ARISE project, and whether your project has a European dimension? So these are the two criteria that will be considered during the in-out scope screening. And after these two checks, you will receive a mail and you will be told whether you've been rejected essentially from the next step because you're either out of scope or you are ineligible, or if you've passed to the next stage. And if you've passed to the next stage, you will be reviewed by independent evaluators. So we'll be recruiting independent evaluators, external evaluators who are experts in this field, who will be reviewing your application based on the three main criteria: so impact, excellence, and implementation. Once this process has been finalized, the expert evaluation, there will be scores assigned to applications, and we will then review the top scoring applications, the ones that are above threshold, essentially, and the top scoring application. There will be a consensus meeting run by the selection committee and a select group of external evaluators. And then we will select the final list of 13, final list of applicants that will be selected for the jury day. Okay, we will notify those who have been selected to the jury day, and then during the jury day, there will be this final assessment whereby we will select 13 winners. Okay, and once those 13 winners have been selected, there is a final process called the formal check, whereby we will check your financial documents, your legal documents, and make sure that there is no double funding. So we'll just check to see that you are not receiving funding through other European projects for the same work that you have described in the ARISE second open call. Okay, so there are all these different checks. And finally, once that has been covered, you will be invited to sign the subgrant agreement with the consortium. And that is a final step before participating in the support program, the 12-month support program. And I think this is the final slide. We, as mentioned earlier, will be paying you upon milestones. So stages, there are 4 stages whereby you need to deliver deliverables for each stage. And based on the successful delivery of your deliverable, you will receive funding. Okay, so there will be committees that will be reviewing the work that you have provided. They will be reviewing the deliverables. And if you have been successfully evaluated by these committees, you will receive the money shortly afterwards. So you will receive in month 1 up to 10,000, followed by up to 20,000, and so on and so forth until you reach the maximum funding that you have declared in the budget form. Okay. All of this is highlighted in the guide for applicants. Now it's time to take your questions. So if there are any questions that you have based on our presentation today or anything you've seen in the guide for applicants or in the application form, we now open the floor to questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Claire. So we actually have a few questions on the chat. Let me address them now. The first question is, can the team consist of 2 technology centers? Francisco or Claire?
Yeah, I was reading the questions in the chat and was already preparing for the answers. I can always give a narrow perspective from the technical point of view and what we will be asking the reviewers to check when they read and go through the proposal. Overall, again, common sense applies everywhere. But I can anticipate for all of you something. If the reviewers will be aware of those type of applications who are produced by the so-called funding hunters. If you have your idea that you just want to smash on whatever program and you do not care about the specifics of this open call, then evaluators will pinpoint that and you will receive some kind of penalties if it is not understandable why you are going a bit to the edge of the required things. So, for instance, the questions of two RTOs, it is automatically out of scope. No, it is not. You must adhere to these requirements regarding the SMEs. So at least one SME must be there. But then regarding the technology provider, okay, perhaps you can elaborate well. This RTO is connected with this company, and the work regarding tech transfer is done through this department, and the experiment is meaningful because they are delivering for that company. If you are able to vertebrate evidences that this is meaningful and this is the best way to create impact for the purpose of ARISE, for what the commission is targeting, then everything is okay. You will be at risk if you are not effective and efficient in creating this story. Because in the end, what we want is to connect these three legs of the innovation, having the tech provider, the industrial tech provider, the industrial end user, and the work of the RTO, from researchers to the low-level innovation. So tech transfer, we want these three spaces to connect together. If we are missing one part, then this is a weakness in the proposal. So this is more or less regarding the two RTOs. Then there is another question connected with the possibility of using the ARISE testing and experimentation facilities as the final demonstration. In here, again, it is a bit tricky because the program was not designed for considering the TEF as the final scenarios for the demonstration. The TEFs are not forced to achieve TRL 7. They are just accelerators, and we want the TRL 7 to come from the team that is applying to the call. So if it happens that the testing and experimentation facility can demonstrate TRL 7, then this could be done, but we cannot ensure, and we are not forced to commit this achievement of TRL 7 in the hosted ARISE TEF. So again, if you think that the maturity requirement can be met, okay, but there is no requirement for us to take this to that level of maturity. These are the two questions I remember, and perhaps there is something else, Marta. Yeah.
There is more also regarding how to compose a consortium. Another question is, can academic entities be considered as an end user?
This question is a bit surprising to me because in the first call, we did this kind of tuning of the requirements for universities to feel on board in the open call program, and universities just more or less asked us to reshape the role because they didn't feel comfortable as end user. So, okay, you could do that. What we asked to those universities is, again, to elaborate on the proposal, on the evidences for transfer to the industry. So it is needed that in the proposal somewhere it is captured that you are working for that company and that your demonstrator is something that has the potential to be adopted by that company, because this is actual technology transfer what you're doing. If what we put in the proposal is just a proof of concept that will be executed during the funded action and then switched off and throw away, then this is not what we are looking for. So again, we are connecting with the industrial actors, either with tech providers and or the end users. So there must be this perspective of transferring to the industry in every single proposal.
So another one connected to that on more specific example, because you were referring to industrial environments, but one of the challenges focuses on a fetch and carry tasks in healthcare environments. So can a hospital or health center act as an end user in this case?
Yes, it is even when in the call texts developed by the Commission, this ambiguity about industry, industrial sector is present. So when we what we refer to with the term industry is we could use the term workspace. So we want places, not living labs. We want to achieve positions as close as possible to a space where there are professional workers in there. This case you are presenting is a total valid case, and the point again is in the alignment with the requirements. So what is the role of the robotics platform? How the tasks for fetching, carrying and delivering are to be implemented? Will be the people around the robot, because if we are putting the robot in a warehouse where the robot is alone fetching products and going to put it in some rack or wherever without a human, then we are totally missing the point. So we want places where professionals are working on a daily basis. We want scenarios that are meaningful to those professionals or to recipients of the service, and we want the robot and the human-robot interaction to be in place always. In that, having that compulsory requirements, it is just about aligning with the requirement of the challenges. We are not limiting the settings or the sector.
Thank you so much. And Claire, now to you. A consortium requires partners from different countries, or it can be the same one?
I believe at least 2 countries have to be included, 2 different countries.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to double check, to be honest.
So maybe this is a good time that I also tell you that we have help desk on Discord. Any that we are unable to answer right now, or you will have after this webinar, later I will send you the message with the invitation to Discord, so you can double check with us there. In the meantime, Claire, another one, you mentioned 2 annexes in the guide for applicants with links of validated end users and technology providers. Where can we find these annexes?
The annexes are in the guide for applicants. So you can access the guide for applicants on the landing page of the open call, but also through this presentation, it's been linked as well, the guide for applicants. So if we go to one of the first slides, if I'm able to go back. Oh, here it is. So just move this. So I've linked it here and you'll be able to find the annexes in this guide.
In the chat, you also have the link to this landing page where you can find everything. In the message after the webinar, you will also receive link from me to quickly navigate to these documents. And is there a full definition of technology provider somewhere in the guide for applicants maybe, or it doesn't consist that?
Maybe Maria or Francisca have the answer to the list.
Is possible in the technical guidelines, Francisco, this definition of the technology provider, the technical guidelines?
Yeah, I think we added this. There is a section in which we are explicitly saying what is the tech provider one and the second one. Well, I do not have the document open, but well, it is exactly what I was describing. We need the tech provider to be able to deliver the full running solution and to implement the required capabilities. And there is this opportunity for having a complementary tech provider to redistribute these things. So I can not understand exactly what is the, let's say, the gap that we are not covering with our explanations. If there are specific questions, you can just forward them to us through the help desk, and we can give answers to the specifics.
Yes, thank you. What if you are developing a solution yourself for your own SME? So this is the question about individual applicant.
Yeah, we already had some examples in the first round. Again, it is part of your ability to capture in the proposal how you are grouping together all the context to become a valid application, because you must be an SME, you must own the industrial use case, and you must have in-house all the capacities to develop the collaborative automation solution, to deploy it, and to demonstrate it. So if that is the case, yes, you can go. But remember, you must be an SME with all of these requirements. So it is always the case for a producer of robotics platform, and then this company says, I am robotics solutions, whatever. I am creating my own robots, and for creating my robots, I am using robots, and we develop the algorithms for those robots. So okay, yeah, just document it, and if it is meaningful and credible, go for it.
Thank you. And if a technology provider engages an external company or expert through subcontracting to develop a specific technical component due to lack of in-house expertise, would this external party be considered as a second technology provider or strictly a subcontractor?
Yeah, and here Claire can for sure give more details than I. From the technical perspective, I would say that since there are limitations for subcontracting, what we open with this auxiliary tech provider is the opportunity for having on board a collaboration that is meaningful and relevant to the project. In that case, you could have even a third provider subcontracting within the boundaries determined for it. But yes, these are two situations. Subcontracting is that you externalize a little amount of work because you need it. The other approach with two tech providers is that from the very beginning, it is understood that these capabilities, you need them from a third party. Yeah.
Sarah,
Just,
anything?
Yes, just to add, usually we advise that when you're engaging a subcontractor, which you can in this case, that the subcontractor isn't doing a major or core part of the work. So usually it's advised that the partners you bring into your consortium are able to carry out the majority of the work, the main activities, the core of your project. And a subcontractor is providing additional benefits, right? Additional support to your project. And that's why we limit or we cap the maximum funding allocated to a subcontractor at 15% of your total or your maximum project budget. So yes, to engaging a subcontractor, but just consider that to have a strong proposal, you need to make sure that the partners on board, if you're a consortium, need to be able to deliver the core of the work.
Another one regarding budget. Is there an opportunity to buy 1-2 robots and budget to this purchase service part of the application budget?
Francisco, I don't know you.
Okay.
I can add after.
Yeah, well, again, overall in the program we do not want to make rigid statements and flexible, but you may consider that the budget of the action is associated with the level of ambition that we expect. And then if you use the money for getting a robot, then you are not dedicating enough efforts and resources to the level of innovation we are targeting. So the program is not meant to acquire the robot. The program is for developing the innovation, for testing, for deploying, for preparing and delivering the open module, the proof of concept, and the demonstrator. It is not for paying the robot or the rental of the robot.
Mm-hmm. And Claire, there is another question. We have approval to fund a robotic startup, but the company will be officially funded mid-year. Can we still apply to this call with a commitment to complete the funding before receiving the grant?
So the question is that you are waiting to receive funding, or that your company still needs to be legally...
I understood it that the company legally doesn't still exist. It will exist because of some
Once of the funding.
Yes,
okay.
But for now, there is no...
So there is a bit of a risk with that, because we would need to ensure that you are a company before the signing of the sub-grant agreement. So the expectation is that by March you would need to already be legally formed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure. Again, I don't understand the timeline per se. I would almost say it would be better if you write via the help desk so that I understand your particular needs better. And that's why I'll be able to confirm whether or not you would be on time, let's say, to participate in the support program.
Mm-hmm. And there is another question regarding countries that can apply to this call. Delphine is saying that they have noticed the need to involve European partners. And is there any preferred country or preferred countries?
So this is a European program. Essentially, European partners can participate or should participate. And there is a list that's also in the guide for applicants. There's a list of member states and associated countries. So this open call is open to member states and associated countries. For the full list, you can get that from the guide for applicants. So there's no one preference, no. I mean, you'll be able to see which countries are eligible or ineligible. And as long as you're eligible, you can participate.
Thank you. And there's the second part of this question, but it's more for Francisco, I guess. They are saying that they are working on a high precision task using robotics systems with strong interaction with humans. It seems to be in the scope. Do you confirm?
I would like to get the text and read it again, because
it was posted on 11:05 by Delphine Keller.
I have noticed the need. If I understand correct. Okay. It was not public to everyone, I think, because I don't have it.
You don't have it. So the question is, we are working on a high precision task using robotic systems with strong interaction with humans. It seems to be the scope. Do you confirm?
Yeah, well, yes, the question is very broad, but yes, everything sounds really good and aligned with the program. Yeah, I can confirm that.
And another one regarding Challenge 6. If I understood correctly, there are proposals that strongly addresses Challenge 6, fetch and carry tasks in healthcare environments, and Challenge 8, HRI for improving ergonomics in high precision tasks, be given priority or receive particular consideration during the evaluation process.
Yeah, well, this is Claire elaborated on this. We have not written in stone exactly what will be the final means to do so, but the point is, you will receive a scoring from the external evaluators. From there will be a ranking. There is a consensus meeting, and in there, the selection committee will double check the evaluations. Whatever that happens with that scoring will be out of the consensus between the internal evaluation and the external evaluators. And from there, the scoring will be listed and some teams will be invited to the jury day. What is this ensuring? It is ensuring that in the jury day, we only have the best top quality proposals. In there, when you do the pitches, we have, as part of the jury day criteria, to maximize the impact of the ARISE program. And the European Commission has asked us to cover all of the challenges. Since challenge 6 and 8 are empty for now, we will need to find in this this list of the very best proposals, at least the best ones in the 6, 8 to be in. If it happens that none of the proposals for the challenge 6 and 8 are within the jury day ones, then we will just explain to the commission that we didn't make it. We didn't have that proposal that was needed for the challenge 6 or 8. So this is more or less the priority. If you are a very good proposal and you are in the jury day with challenge 6 or 8, you have a chance of being promoted because of this criterion for impact.
Thank you very much. And there are a few last questions. I believe I can answer them. You are asking if there is any platform where you can match with some partners to find providers or end users or any consortium partners. I believe that the best solution would be to go to our Discord. I'm sending you the invitation to Discord right now. There is this specific channel that is called, let me double check, matchmaking. There are some companies, some organizations that are already announcing their availability for this open call. So you can also go there, add your announcement and find a partner there. Another question was about these annexes, because you couldn't find them in the guide for applicants. We will make sure if they are there, and anyway, in the mail that I will send after this webinar, I will specifically link them so you can check. I see there are 2 more questions that came. Can I apply for this second call if I apply to the first call, but I was not selected for funding? Claire? Yes.
Yes, you can.
Yes, and there is another question in case of 2 partners, if they can be from different countries or the same one. We will double check that, or you already know, Claire?
So in the guide for applicants, there's no specification. So it doesn't say that you need to be from multiple EU member states or associated countries. I would like to just cross-reference another document to be extra sure, but as for now, you can also be from the same country.
Okay.
We can make an announcement on Discord.
Perfect. Anything that you would like to add, Claire, Mireia, or Francisco? Not really. Yes, that was a very informative and exhaustive webinar. So thank you very much for that. Thank you also for your attendance and for all your questions. Right now, I will stop the recording.